gosh, that was insane. How does it feel to be all alone?
Feels like I'm gonna die out here. Just getting loaded up. We're taking 2 planes out. One's gonna drop Tana off, the other's gonna drop me off. Gonna go. Season starts in 2 days, so kind of get camp set up, get ready to go. Let the storm pass. See how it goes.
Starting off the trip nice and wet.
Yeah, as always.
Just glory camping, glamping.
Got all the gear set up. Gonna be on the coast. It's gonna be a pretty view at least.
And you can see.
Clears up a little bit to where we can do some glassing, but got 2 days still till season starts. It's gonna be good.
Tana's cold. What do you have to say, guide Tana? Nervous, excited?
Shaking.
Shaking,
I don't know
cold?
if I'm nervous or
Gotta get the
cold.
guide heated up and then we'll be good to go.
Set up the tent. Have a good one. Well, good luck, kids.
The real question is, do we have enough stuff? Got snowshoes, got clothes, bows, guns, everything you can imagine. We've got it.
We made
It's
it.
like a walking Cabela's right here. Except for with 2 you
How does it feel to be all alone?
Feels like I'm gonna die out here.
So, we're super stubborn trying to do less trips. Oh man. I'm carrying this thing and I'm all loaded up. Taking everything to camp. We already have our tent set up, so I'm just gonna get all set up tonight. Eat some din din, and then tomorrow is the day before season. We're already in here. And then next day season. So super stoked. Trevor looks tired.
I'm going to narrate the Stuck in Rut episode just a little bit differently. Rather than saying what's going on, I'm going to interview Tana, Trevor, and Adam so that they are telling the story from their perspective.
Yeah, did you see me with these retainers in?
No.
So here we are. Tomorrow's opening morning, so hopefully the rain stopped. It's been raining all day today, so we've just been in the tent. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can just glass tomorrow and be able to see. It's pretty misty out right now, foggy. The tide's rolled in, so hopefully the beach will kind of be viewable tomorrow. We'll see. It's the day before season. Season starts in the morning. It's been raining since about 4 o'clock this morning, and so it's supposed to rain all day too, so it doesn't look like we waited for a break, but it never had a break. So here we are getting water. And
Sure, that water last night was nice and dry.
yeah, I got some fresh larvae with my water last night in a pond close to the tent. So walked a little bit further, but again, a pond. So yeah, we don't want to go putting our scent everywhere, and so we didn't want to hike all the way to the river because bears. That's why.
It is opening morning, and it's been foggy all morning to the ground, so we're just gonna go check out the beach because it's low tide pretty soon.
Yeah, hopefully see something walking the beach. If not, hopefully the fog lifts a little bit to where we can see around.
We are at the glassing hill, trying to see what we can see.
We saw one bear up on this hill, kind of just running through the snow up there. See some tracks, but kind of lost it in some fog, and now it's finally got a little bit sunny out here, so hopefully we can see some more. Lots of glassing. We've got a bear spotted. It's about 3 miles as the crow flies across the river. Probably about 5 miles to get to it. Haven't really been able to see what it is yet. It might be a big sow, or it's possibly a boar too. It's a pretty good sized bear. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's a boar or sow. We just watched a wolf chase a caribou into the ocean, and the caribou never returned. The wolf did not actually go into the ocean. It just chased it to the ocean, kind of ran on the beach, and then it looked like the caribou was trying to swim around the island, and so the wolf kind of went and looked like it tried to cut it off, and then kind of just started running back, and the caribou disappeared. So, not sure what happened. We were hoping it came close enough to shoot it, but 800 yards was about the closest we had, 800-yard running shot, so we weren't able to take the wolf down. But
That was crazy.
dang
What do you think
wolves.
about first day?
Dang wolves. Saw a couple bears and a wolf and a fox and a couple caribou and some moose. Just typical Alaska. See animals running everywhere. Haven't seen a big bear yet though, so hopefully that's in the making in the next couple days.
Maybe it's working its way up. Looks dark. Walking like a boar. Looks like a shooter.
I spotted a boar up here, kind of up in the snow. So we're gonna go up there, see if we can close the distance on it. It's kind of right. We're good on wind right now, but typically the wind kind of comes off the ocean, so probably won't be too long before it switches up that way, but we're gonna try and close the distance. And hopefully it's just taking a nap up there, but he's moving some ground fast.
Worst case, I saw him go in that snow patch and we can see how big his track is, and maybe track him because he's up in the snow now. I watched him. He went behind that hill.
If anything,
He went
that
right
hill I just looked, that hill drops into that next basin.
Yeah.
So even if we have to chase him up over into that,
Do you think we
he
need
can always come out
snowshoes?
that way. Snowshoes would have been a good choice. It's a bad idea to not bring this one.
I thought about it too. I was like, maybe I should bring those.
Yeah. I think it's like 900.
Do you want to try?
I can't get a close enough read on him for it to even be close to being able to hit it. Get some good video of him.
We're stuck in a bear. He's coming over this other side. We're gonna aim to ambush him. There's been Brandon trying to get over here. We dropped our packs. We're going in. This is where we should have had snowshoes. How do you feel right now?
We basically sprinted over here all the way around to this side of the mountain because it looked like this boar was going to come up through this notch, and then the wind just totally screwed us. Right when we kind of crested over this ridge here, it just started blowing right towards the notch. Doesn't look like he's came through. I mean, there's nothing else up there. He's heading straight up in 10 feet of snow, so that's pretty much was his plan. But not sure where he went. Pretty sure he went to this. Maybe we're gonna get to the top and see if we can kind of get eyes on where he went or any of his tracks. But it's pretty gnarly up here. There's all of these peaks have big, 50 to 100 foot cornices on them. So it's a little bit freaky. You don't want to be hanging up on a cornice, so. So we got a bear spotted up here. It looks like it's about 4.5 miles as the crow flies, but it's not in a very good spot. It looks like it's about 2,000 feet above where we're at right now in about 20 feet of snow. It's taking a nap currently. You can kind of see it. There's its trail where it goes up there, and then it's just chilling. But this is a big spotting scope, and you can barely see it, so it's a long ways out there. And it looks like before he went up here and took a nap, he almost walked off like 3 or 4 different cliffs. So this thing is not afraid of heights, and he fears nothing. So we'll see.
He must be huge.
We'll see if the weather allows us to get up there tomorrow.
Way up.
It's about 6 or so at night, so it's gonna be wild. Oh, he just lifted his head.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I wasn't imagining it.
Well, he didn't hop around like you said. There's heat waves between here and there, and it was really playing with our eyes, because yeah, it looked like he was hopping. He did some rolling. Tana's like, I might be dancing around. I don't know.
No, I just saw him roll his feet in the air.
Now he's just chilling. That's ideal situation for a bow if you can get to it. But I doubt he's going to be sleeping in the same spot by tomorrow. So things are a little bit different this time around. The grass and everything hasn't really got green. Winter's a little bit longer than normal, so there's really not many bears out of the dens yet. So we are heading up to the furthest most point that you can possibly see to go after a blob that we haven't got a good look at yet. But it's been napping for the last 16 hours on the hill. You can see big bear tracks going up to it, or it looks like big bear tracks. You don't really know, it's so far away. So hopefully get a closer look at it and kind of decipher whether we should risk spending the night up there. So see how it is. No, what are you doing? Bad idea. Bad idea.
Hiking up here, but we looked up and this bear is now moving. Looks like he's just following his tracks.
We're about 3 miles up this draw already. I think we're about halfway there, maybe, but we haven't really started climbing yet. He just came down his track. It looks like he came down like 30 yards, but it looks like he bedded down again. I'm hoping that he's just still super tired and sleepy. Most ideal situation would be if we get to that next knob and he starts working his way down the creek and we can just watch him come down and get in front of him. But I really don't want him to go up and over that mountain because he's gone if he does. But
Looks big though.
looks big, looks black. It's going to be interesting to see what it's like when they get a little bit closer. Hopefully he's just nice and sleepy and groggy and doesn't even know what's going on.
But the bear's still sleeping. Our wind isn't awesome, so we're kind of sitting right here and get some lunch, and then we're gonna jump up the creek and try to get above him because of our wind. So hopefully he just chills out up there for a while.
The wind keeps swirling, so we're really hoping that doesn't screw us, because as you can see, there's only one way up this canyon, and it's down the bottom. It's all the way up there in the snow. We're gonna see if it's even humanly possible to get up to where he's at. I'm sure it is. But maybe with not our set of gear.
We can do it.
I can cook up there with my split board. The bear moved a good mile probably further up Death Mountain, so we're about to see if we can make it up there. There's another sow too, just kind of rounded the ridge top. It's a really big sow, but Tana said no sows allowed, so to the top we go. We're almost into straight snow after this one. right before me and Tana started making the trek up this hill. A big sow, real big sow, came and rounded this corner right here and just went up the ridge. So we kind of got to be careful to watch out for her. But I'm hoping that we can crest this little top here and that'll be a shootable range. Wind is super bad right now, so if it's further than 500-600, it's probably got to try to close the gap. So we'll see what it looks like.
So we're about halfway up this mountain now. It's a steep one. Tana is one crazy woman, let me tell you. Don't know how she talked me into this.
Okay, take him.
Just lifted his head.
Take him whenever.
Hey! Hey!
Did you hit it? Oh, he's getting up. Here we go. Jeez, go down. Thanks. I think you got him. Is it jammed? Hang on, let me have a reach.
Still won't work for some reason. What's going on?
After just a couple shots, the gun jammed. Trevor kept working the action and just couldn't get it to close. This video shows the bear just slowly moving closer and closer to Tana and Trevor as they're trying to fix the gun. Trevor assumes that something's frozen in there, so what he is doing here is trying to warm it up through blowing on it, hoping that he can get the bolt closed.
Please die.
What in the heck is going on?
Did you get a good shot?
I don't know, but I don't know why this thing will not go in. Never seen it do that before. Gosh, dang it.
Spitting out blood. Just try to be gentle with it instead of hurting it. Where's the bolt?
They're over here. Just don't know why. I'm trying to warm up the bolt on my stomach.
So Tana, at first 400 yards, you really don't feel too worried about the possibility of being attacked. But at what point did you feel like it's time to go and get away from that bear?
In the video, you can see that this bear starts to pick up speed. Trevor got 3 really good shots in him. One was through the vitals, one was through the front shoulder, and one was through like high neck and spine, but like right under the spine. It must have just missed the spine because he could still walk. And so he would kind of like hunch and fall, and he was, you know, spewing out blood, and we thought he was going to go down any second. He just probably need a few more bullets in him, but we couldn't get the bolt to work. And he closed the distance fast. Right after you could start to see the video blur out is where he disappeared. So we were right up on this little knob, and it dipped down to where we couldn't see him, and then up on the hill where he was sliding down in the snow at us. And so as soon as that video got blurry and he dipped down, he was less than 200 yards at that point, and he had been picking up speed and getting faster and faster and faster and looked less and less injured. And at that point we knew we had to run, and it was too close for comfort. I just remember, like, a lot of this is a blur, but I have little like memories that pop out. And I remember ranging and calling out ranges as Trevor's trying to fix the rifle. And it just was like 350. And then like 5 seconds later, 270. I mean, he was just started to cover ground so fast because they have such long strides. It didn't look like he was going fast, but with the ranges, I mean, every time I would range, every few seconds, he was 50 to 100 yards closer. And he was closing the distance pretty fast at that point. And as soon as he like dipped down and we couldn't see him anymore, and he was less than 200 yards and we knew that he had pinpointed us, both of our instincts said run. And so we left all of our gear. We had like a GoPro on a selfie stick even going that was in the snow, and we just left everything. And we grabbed the rifle, the bow, and Trevor had the pistol in a chest holster. Trevor had a pistol in the chest holster, and we just started running. And we ran as fast as we could down the hill through knee-deep snow, looking behind us. We just wanted to get distance, because if we would have stayed there, because of how the land was laid out, that thing would have come up on us less than 20 yards and surprised us, and we wouldn't have much time to react. So we wanted to get distance, get into a spot where we had cover and we would be able to react. I mean, that's just kind of what your instincts are telling you super fast as you're reacting. So we're running full speed down the mountain, just looking for a place to get some cover and be able to react and have some a longer time to react. And we're running and we're running and we're running. And I'm looking back, and Trevor looks back at me after about 100 yards of running, and he looks back and he holds his hand right here, and he's like, my pistol's gone. And it was just instant panic. Like, it was almost like we're dead, you know. And he looked around, and it had just fallen out, thankfully, and it hadn't fallen through the snow yet. And so we looked down, and we both just saw it instantly, and it was just the black handle was barely sticking out of the snow, and he just grabbed it, put it back in, and we kept running. And that was a huge, like, my heart just sunk of like, we are gonna die. And then as soon as we found the pistol, it was like, okay, we got another chance. And we just kept running. And the closest cover we could find was just a little cluster of rocks. And we got behind those rocks and we waited. And I just remember Trevor, I think this just happened in a few seconds, but he's like, we should keep running. We should get to the brush. And something told me like, no, he's coming. And he's like, no, I think he's dead. And I'm like, no, he's coming. Like, my intuition is very strong. And in that moment, I knew he was coming. I said, you got to finish him. He's coming. And at that point, we just stood our ground, and I hid behind this rock, and he was right next to me. And I look up, and that bear comes right over the knob, right over our gear, pinpoints us, and just comes full bore. So in this gap of what is happening, this bear closes about 150 yards of distance in about 10 seconds. I'm helpless. The rifle's jammed. What's a bow gonna do? We have one pistol with 5 shots, and I'm hiding behind the rock. And of course I'm supposed to be videoing this, but I'm just in shock. I remember him running through the snow at me. I remember his huge, like, fluffy body just like hitting the snow, and snow flying up around him. And the craziest thing about this whole experience is his mouth was not like growling, He was so big and just so, his lips were so huge that his mouth was just hanging open, like drool was coming out of it. And he was just, huffing, you know, coming down the hill. And so that 10-second gap, I remember seeing like my life flash before my eyes. I said goodbye to my family. I said goodbye to my children. I thought this was it. And I just stood there behind the rock, just staring at him and just thought, I cannot believe this is actually happening. I feel like this is a movie, but it's actually happening. And as he got close, you know, under 30 yards is when Trevor started shooting, and he missed the first shot. The first shot nicked the rock right in front of his face as he was like coming through the rocks, the cluster of rocks right at us. And then it was boom, 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 shot 3 times in him. And that made him turn. He had one more lunge, basically. He was 5 yards at that last shot. One more lunge before he came over the rock at us and on top of me or Trevor. I'm not sure which one he was choosing first. But that fourth shot turned him just enough to where then I was, for some reason, I don't know why, I just had my phone in my hand and I just pulled it up like this and I got that last shot on video. Final shot into the side, and he disappeared behind that rock. We never saw him after that. He disappeared behind the rock. Trevor grabbed the gun and he was in total like fight mode. And he's like, we gotta run. And we turned to run and I hear a shh. So I knew, it kind of sounded like an avalanche. I knew that he had slid snow down. So he was now below us, which was a good thing. Now that we have the bear below us, we think, we still can't see it, didn't see it. We just ran the other direction. And during that time, Trevor was reloading because we had 5 more pistol rounds. And then we decided after a while that we needed to slowly side hill back to our gear to see if we could track him and see where he went. And so we went super slow, you know, our head on a swivel the entire way. The wind is howling, and Trevor is very well versed in snow conditions. He is an avid snowmobiler down in Idaho and Canada, and so I really trust his judgment with reading the snow. And so we hiked in safe spots. So we were able to side hill back to our gear, and you know, we looked through the binos like, is that him? And it was almost like we didn't believe it. Like, is that really him? Is he really dead?
So we just had this bear, and up there it was bedded. When I shot it, and it actually came running after us. All the way down the hill. This is its tracks and blood trail. Me and him dropped all of our stuff. We got down, took off running down there.
And then I checked the time lapse between the time that we first shot the bear until right now when we saw that he was dead. And it was over 45 minutes of running and not knowing if this bear was dead. He was closer to 50 minutes, like 49 or something like that. And so it was just crazy that it all happened so fast, but it was almost an hour from the time that we shot the bear to the time that we knew it was dead.
Just nothing. Trevor's gonna make sure it's dead by walking up to it, poking it, and having a pistol in hand just in case. I want to close my eyes right now. Oh. Fell through the hole.
at this point, it's getting really windy, really cold, starting to get hypothermia. I'm like convulsing. We're wet. We got this huge storm rolling in. Well, I almost died today. This thing came at us. Trevor ended up shooting it 5 yards away with a pistol while I was hiding behind him because I thought we were going to get attacked. But I had faith in Trevor. I didn't. Oh my gosh, that was insane.
454.
I'm so thankful to be alive. We just could not believe it when you think you're gonna die and you've got something chasing you to, holy crap, I survived. You know, you have that moment, and then you also have the, it's not over yet, because we still had to get to the bear, get off the mountain safely, and then hike out 6 miles safely back to camp with 5 shots and a pistol. We just got done skinning the bear hide and we started our way down. Trevor has the bear hide, which is extremely heavy. I've got the skull, the rest of our stuff. And it's about midnight right now. We're so tired, exhausted, we can't eat because we're so nauseous from the adrenaline. And we are trying to make it down to that creek so that we can set up a little camp. I got a tarp, build a fire, put some warm clothes on, and maybe get a little shut-eye before Adam comes to get us tomorrow. Yay!
If we can ever make it back.
We're alive! Pray for us. All right. We made it down.
What?
We made it down, and this is our shelter for the night. It is pouring rain. We're soaked, but we just tried to make a little lean-to with a tarp and our trekking poles and some paracord because it's windy and rainy and we're freezing and soaked. So welcome to our camp. It's gonna be fun. Why am I so wet right now?
So, me and Tana are under a tarp, and we at least had some dry puppies and stuff. It started downpouring. We got about 2 miles down the hill, and then it got dark on us, and so we're just going to hang out. It's going to be dark for a couple more hours. And, of course, we've got that bad boy that just saved our lives. We're right by it, quick access in case we need her again. Hopefully we don't. We're really praying we don't. We'll see how it goes. The thing almost killed us. That gun right there. We almost died.
Well, I'm freezing. How are you feeling?
Little gummy snacks.
Scooby snack? Oh, it's cold.
So cold.
We are seriously so cold. Just shaking, shivering, so I can't hold this very steady. But we made it through the night, sort of. Some of us got a little sleep. Others of us just shivered. And it's nice and wet and windy out there. I think we're going to try to maybe pack out today so we can get back to our warm, dry tent. Well, it is incredibly wet out here. Just downpour. And we're trying to make it back.
Our packs are wet, heavy. Tana's got all my gear in the skull. I've got the hide. Both pretty heavy. Got about 6 miles to go, probably. Hopefully
Gross.
we can make it before it gets dark again.
Better not take us that long.
Not sleeping another night on the mountain.
You just have flashbacks all the time, like just hundreds of flashbacks of it running over and over and over in your mind the entire hike out, which took us, I think, 10 hours to get back to camp in those 6 miles. It was rough. 16 miles later. Oh, 2 days, 1 hour of sleep, and 48 hours. Killed a bear.
tried to eat us. Walked all day, packing it out in like a monsoon hurricane. So wet, so soaked. This is the feeling I was looking forward to. The tent. We're back. We made it safely. Oh, what a hunt. The most glorious feeling ever. How do you feel?
Exhausted. Nice and tired.
That was a long day. Bear done.
Yeah, we just didn't really feel like taking any videos or pictures up there. It was pretty miserable up on top. Pretty cold, and we wanted to get off the mountain before it got dark, and we actually ended up only making it about halfway down to where it got really brushy and cliffy before it got pitch black on us. And so we just skinned it as fast as we could. Didn't take near as many pictures as we should have for a bear that size, but yeah, we were just both kind of stressing to get off the mountain. And we had just saw a sow too, and at this point we don't have a working rifle, and so we didn't really want the sow to be coming after us when we're covered in bear blood. So yeah, we made it down to the bottom, set up a little tarp in the monsoon, and in the riverbed. It was not a very comfortable, very cold night of sleep, but we were able to wait it out at least till morning, and then we just hiked out about 6 miles in the morning with all of the gear. So
In the rain.
Yeah, in the rain. It was pretty brutal, but we made it, and yeah, glad we're back at the tent. Hopefully the weather will clear up a little bit and Adam can swoop in and pick us up. So this bolt will not close, just so you can see what happened out there. That's as far as it'll go. It won't go all the way down. And so yeah, that happened after like the 3rd or 4th round, and so it came running after us and had to put it down with the pistol. I did all 5 shots with the pistol, 454 Casull, and we actually ran down the hill. We ditched all of our gear, ran down the hill probably 100-ish yards, and got behind the only rock in the whole snow patch. And he came running, just pinpointed us, was coming to kill us. And it came around the rock. That's when I started shooting. And its last one, my 4th bullet, it finally whirled, and the 5th bullet, I got one in a broadside. Actually, Tana got a little video of the last bullet that I shot right when it whirled. But yeah, so it was about 5 yards on that last shot. Pretty big bear to have at 5 yards with only a pistol to save yourself. So yeah, lesson learned there. You need 2 rifles when you're going out for these bears.
And 2 pistols.
And 2 pistols.
I was defenseless.
So yeah, but glad we got it down. It made it about a mile less pack for us, which is the only positive side of the situation. But yeah, it was pretty freaky, but glad we made it.
Well, Adam's here. He's here to pick us up. We're so happy. Doing our last load.
Okay, and as far as the rifle issue, that gun, it's a 700 action Remington. Pretty stock gun. It's had a little custom work, like a trigger and a brake done to it, but it's pretty much a stock rifle, and it's really, really good. We nicknamed it the Death Stick because you point that rifle at an animal and it just drops them. And it had a pretty hot round, and never had issues before this hunt ever with 4 years of Alaska hunting with that round. But it's taking a 225 Accumon out of a 338 rum, and it's going 3,200 feet per second. So it's under the max powder charge, but the feet per second, when you look at some SAMI specs, is actually taking that above pressure. And so we think with that moisture and just the perfect combination that blew the primer out of the back of one of those cases because the round was too hot. And when that round got ejected, that primer, that's very small, maybe 3/16 long, fell down into the action, and the only place it could get stuck was where the forward action screw holds the action to the stock, or the stock to the action, and that action screw didn't come up all the way flush to where the recoil lugs of the bolt sit. But there was a little depression, probably 15 to 20 thousandths in where that screw was, and the primer fell down right into that pocket where that screw was, and it just sat there like a post. And if you can imagine a post sticking up, when you go to engage the bolt only went halfway closed, and it wouldn't actuate, and those lugs wouldn't lock in and engage. That's the problem. The bolt wouldn't close. You can't shoot the gun with the bolt not closed. If they would have tried, that could have got real bad and possibly injured them. So that's what happened. They took everything apart, and when I showed up, that primer was still in where it had gotten stuck, and that's the only thing that we could figure out what might have happened. And I put my pinky down there. I could feel something, and I pulled out my phone light trying to look, and I couldn't see it. And I tilted the gun up, and I think I had just moved it just enough to get it dislodged, and it fell down out of the barrel into the tundra and never found it again, and then the bolt cycled just fine.
So Adam and his buddy just came to pick us up. We finally made it out. Yesterday we came all the way down the creek and made it back to camp, but today we're going to be flying home. So hopefully it all goes good. We got about a 2-hour flight.
Overall, this whole experience changed me a lot. It taught me a lot, but really it was a huge trauma experience to our body. And when you have that amount of adrenaline and fight or flight for something like that for, 48 hours, it was a long time that we hiked up to that bear, and by the time we killed the bear and then had to stay the night on the mountain and hike all the way out the next day and not make it back to camp till night the next day, our bodies had been through a lot. We had not eaten in a long time. We hadn't eaten in that entire period just because you're too sick to eat. Your body is focused on survival. And so it really forced me to become trauma informed, understanding how trauma works in our body and how our body keeps score of those traumatic experiences, which can create other problems like anxiety and inability to cope with stressors. It's like little stressors in life will set you over the edge when you have these big trauma experiences stored in your body. And so it really taught me how to become really aware of that and know how to work through trauma. But also it helped me become aware of the difference between listening to your intuition and when you feel that gut feeling of like, this is wrong, and what is buck fever. Because I used to think it was kind of the same thing and I couldn't really differentiate the difference. But as I went through a lot of somatic therapy and did a lot of trauma work, I recognized that there's a very distinct difference between my, this is not right feeling and I'm just nervous, excited because it's buck fever. And so I often check in with myself now. I hunt differently because I'll check in with myself before I go in to stalk an animal. I ask myself, like, does this feel right? And I know how to feel it in my body now. I know how to feel the difference between this is not right, this is my intuition saying no, and this is my, yeah, let's go, this is good, we're excited, this is buck fever, nervousness. So it's taught me a lot about that. It's just changed how I've looked at life, my perspective at life, how I do business, how I spend time with my kids. I value life a lot, and it's like kind of like a second chance. And so I want to do things in a way that makes an impact on the world. It pushed me to and led me and inspired me to do women's wilderness retreats in Alaska, to bring them out here and to basically train them and teach them in 6 days in the wilderness so that they'll be prepared for anything. And it's also pushed me to just help women in the outdoors in general, to teach them and to train them to be better prepared and more safe in the wilderness so that they can be confident and be able to make it through anything. Because again, whatever hard experiences you go through, and when you go into survival mode, you go back to what you're trained on. So if you don't have any training and you don't know how to handle cold weather and when stuff hits the fan, how do you know how to respond when everything goes wrong? And can you survive when everything goes wrong? And can you run for your life when you have a bear running at you to kill you? It is truly all about preparedness and training, listening to your intuition.
All right, after our brush with death with this 10-foot brown bear, we spent many hours thinking and processing and analyzing everything that went wrong with the situation that we had put ourselves in. And we fully own every bad choice that we made. We know we made a lot of mistakes on this hunt, which combined with the factors outside of our control created this perfect storm for disaster. And we know that by sharing this story, it really gives an open platform for people to judge and scrutinize and crucify us. But instead, we hope that in sharing this, everyone can take away these important lessons that we had to learn the hard way and think about them the next time that you go out hunting. So lesson number 1 is weapon choices. Each person regardless of whether you're hunting or not, needs to have a big pistol on them at all times and a rifle, especially in bear country. Why didn't I have 2 rifles? Well, I did not really bring a backup rifle because I was tagged out on bears for 2 more years, so I couldn't legally back Trevor up unless it was a true defense of life and property situation, which this one was, but you just don't really expect your rifle to fail after 10 years. And he was archery hunting, and so we had a rifle and a pistol and a bow, and we just thought that was enough, and it just wasn't. Hindsight's 2020, we would have 2 pistols and 2 rifles for 2 hunters. Lesson number 2, shooter placement with bears. First of all, get above a bear before you shoot it. Stay hidden. Don't let yourself be seen or heard. We tried yelling at this bear to get it to stand up so that we could get a better, clear shot before it got dark and we were stuck up there with an alive bear in the dark. But then he knew our location. So if they see you or they hear you, it's all over. If they're wounded, they have a harder time coming uphill at you versus going downhill. In our scenario, we couldn't get above him just because of how the snow was. So if we did this again, we just would not risk it. We would not be below a bear. We would just turn around and leave. The higher predator always has the advantage. Lesson number 3 is do not long range brown bears. As many people know, with our family at Stuck in the Rut, we do a lot of long range shooting, and really anything on a hunt under 500 yards is extremely comfortable for us. But as a general rule, I would keep shooting distance under 300 yards with big brown bears, even with our 338 Ultra Mag and 225 grain AccuBonds at 470 yards. Those 2 hits to his vitals looked like a bee sting to him, and when we skinned him out, he had one through the front shoulder through vitals, and then another one right behind the shoulder through vitals, and then one that was like high neck and spine, but we had just barely missed the spine. And so it took those 3 bullets and then 4 more bullets, which were 360 grain buffalo bore defense rounds out of the 454 Casull, before he even slowed down and died. So these bears are really, really tough. And then as far as where to shoot the bear, spine shots are also said to be a killer shot for a bear from several guides we've talked to. Break bone, hit vitals, and go for the spine. Lesson number 4 is to always have your survival gear that can save you on the mountain, and that saved us. We had a glassing tarp, which we were able to build a shelter with. We had dry puffies, top and bottom, in a dry bag with an extra pair of dry socks, hat, and gloves, and that saved us on the mountain that night when we were really cold and wet. And then you could also bring like a tiny bivy sack with a jet boil and an Nalgene to help boil water if you're in a cold, wet situation, to keep in your coat and keep you warm and help you survive hypothermia. The last lesson, which is probably the most important lesson, is to listen to your gut. There were many times during this hunt where we had these little gut feelings that we ignored, and instead we kept pushing through. Looking back, we called the mountain Death Mountain before we even climbed up it, and I had high anxiety, and it just didn't feel right, and we just kept pushing through. And so listen to your gut. Be courageous enough to walk away when things seem too dangerous if you don't really have a warm, fuzzy feeling about it. All in all, the biggest takeaway from something like this is that nothing is worth costing your life. No hunt, no experience, no huge trophy brown bear is worth risking your life for. Trevor asked me before the climb, Tana, is it worth risking our life for a bear? And I said, absolutely not. And then I kept climbing. So this was a very humbling experience for both of us. We are very weak as humans without our tools. We are not the king of the mountain. We are not the top of the food chain, especially without our technology. So respect the animals, respect the wild, and respect nature. It is powerful and unforgiving, and it will kill you faster than you can even realize it.
So as we continue to give you free content to watch, all we ask in return is to give us a like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated on our newest hunting episodes. Thank you for watching.